Yeah, welcome everyone. This is the September community meeting for Marquez, so welcome. As always, I think it's going to be we're going to be outlining some really interesting things that came in the 0.18 release. So let me talk really quick about first what we're going to be going over. Yeah, I just wanted the 0.18. Not a lot went in terms of PRs and things like that, but it did accompany a lot of really awesome features that includes a search API and UI enhancements that was done by Peter. So for this community meeting, I'll be going over the search API, and then I'll have Peter go over all the awesome changes that came into the 0.18 release for the web UI. And we're already getting positive feedback from the open source community. So again, always want to give Peter a shout out because this was quite involved, and I'll let him go over that once we get to that point. Now, before we get into the agenda or the demos and so forth, I did want to mention that Marquez did have we did do a annual review for Marquez, so LFEI and data. Since we're incubating and we want to be a top level project, there's certain phases that you have to go through. And what we had to do is we had to kind of hop on a call and outline really our progress. So far, I just want to say it's been kind of looking back, there's been really amazing progress that we've made. So you can Julian gave the talk or provided the overview for Marquez, so you could check out the recording and also the slides. So the slides, if I click on this really quick, the one thing I did want to point out is that there's a checklist of things. So once you go from incubating to graduation, there's a checklist of things that we have to do. Oops. And we're pretty close. We kind of checked off that the Marquez project is maturing. We do have other, it's not just the main committers for Marquez. We have Northwestern, we have HSBC, WeWork, and Getting Data. And especially Get Data, they've been really helpful with writing the integrations for Open Lineage, but also some of the other features for Marquez. And we're pretty close to 1,000 stars. So get ready. I'm pretty excited. Let me go here. So let's see where we are currently. All right, we're at 72, not too far away. So, I mean, we want to broadcast that, hey, Marquez is a cool project. Highly recommend it because we need to get to 1,000 stars as well. So it looks like we were at 763 here. So I don't think we're going to have an issue before the end of the year. But yeah, it's something that's required before we mature. And the best practices. So yeah, this is just if I click on here, it's a badge that you do have to add to your project, and it just outlines things like, are you running CI for all your tests? Do you have a change log? So there's a checklist of things that you have to do. So Julie and I, we spent some time working on this before the meeting, and now we have this badge. So CII best practices, so we're passing, and it's just a checklist of things. So if you're interested in terms of what the checklist is, in terms of what we have to do, feel free to kind of step through that, but it's not as exciting as it sounds. But either way, it's part of the checklist. And yeah, there's some stats as well. So this is available, yeah, feel free to check it out. Let me go back to full screen here. Present. Cool. Yeah, I mean, I kind of mentioned already, the search API and the UI improvements. That was really the big thing. So if you click on the change log, you'll kind of see a bit more as well. I think the one thing that we did do was in the example for Airflow, which we're seeing others start using, is that we now no longer reference the Marquez integration with Airflow. It's now all Open Lineage. So there was some backfilling or rebranding that we had to do for the Airflow example. So now it's just referencing Open Lineage, including the environment variables, how to get set up, The example wasn't working at some point, or it was, but we had to make some modifications. So that also made it into the release. I think if others are trying to use Airflow with Marquez, I think it's important to make it clear that we're using the open lineage integration that emits the open lineage events to the Marquez backend. So yeah, I think towards you get to the bottom, this was like kind of the key fix here. You just kind of have to make sure the table exists. Because if you try to alter it or the column, it would throw an exception because you've already modified it and the column doesn't exist. So that was the key thing there. Yeah, and I'm realizing that this is the old UI that we have in the example. We might want to update those as well. And yeah, just some tables that are not being used. This was really, we're now just using the job IO mappings table. Before we separated out inputs and outputs as a way to optimize, but we realized that's a bit more complex than we needed to be. So those tables are being dropped. So I don't think, yeah, we made sure that those tables aren't being referenced. So we kind of updated the lineage queries a while back. So this is just some leftover work that we need to do. Yeah. Let's see. What else here? Actually, yeah. So Peter, yeah, we could go a bit out of order. This is actually okay. So if you actually wanted to talk about some of the UI enhancements you did, and then I'll briefly go over the search API after you. So I'll give you the screen.
Okay, sounds good. So I will go ahead and share. Are we seeing my screen here?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So originally, kind of with this UI enhancement, we were actually only looking to do a search view. But we ended up doing a lot more here to give a kind of a new look and feel to the application as a whole. So there's a lot of details here, and some of them are quite major. So it will feel in a lot of ways like a new web application and experience. So the first thing we have is an overall kind of brand refresh. It kind of is a little nostalgic for me. I used to work on the IBM mainframe and the AS300, and it feels like that black and green kind of teletypewriter terminal feel now, and a little bit more consistent and true to the brand. So we've kind of removed a lot of the ancillary style sheets. We've reduced the number of colors we're using. We've added this sidebar here to allow kind of some navigation. We've fixed some elements to the screen. And we've just come up with a bit more convention to use in terms of our brand and projecting the kind of image we want to have. So the next thing, and this is our search experience, which is what we kind of originally were intending to do. And this is also kind of what Willy will go over in the API layer, and it's using that API to work. So we can search our data sets here or jobs, and we have a pretty good experience here, and we can kind of click through and go to a lineage page right from here. We have some filters available. So if you only want to see jobs or data sets, we can do that. And we have a sort ordering as well that we can toggle and play around with. So I think overall, this is a pretty good experience for a user to kind of discover with intent jobs and data sets in their view. The next thing is we're actually now using our lineage API for our graph view. So one of the reasons we actually did a bit more than we intended to is because with our search experience, it allows us to discover all the jobs and data sets you have in your ecosystem. And previously, the way our lineage page worked is we preloaded a list of, I believe, 1,000 jobs and 1,000 data sets, merged them together, and then we got an origin node, and then we did a bidirectional client-side depth-first search to kind of stitch together the lineage graph. Now, if you can do kind of an arbitrary search and your the element you're searching for was not in our initial fetch list, the lineage page wouldn't have worked for you. So we didn't really want to ship an experience that kind of created this interim state that, well, you have this kind of extensible search capability, but the lineage page isn't necessarily guaranteed to work because of kind of some legacy code we have on our client. So we decided to batch a lot of this together. So when you click here, this is derived from an origin node, this whole graph, and we'll stitch together with our lineage API. And I know a lot of people on this call have contributed to that API, especially Mike, who's here now. So this is a more robust and safer and a much better experience to kind of navigate the application. So the next, I would say, major feature that we have these new pages, list views, tabular list views for jobs and data sets. And they have kind of context-specific columns here. And that these also allow you to navigate towards to the lineage page directly if you kind of click on them. So same thing as search. It's just a little bit more of a lower intent feature, meaning that you want to look through your list, you want to look at maybe the last runtime and kind of look at a specific lineage for a job. So it's the same thing for a data set. We just have a different column here for source instead of the last runtime. But it works similarly. We stitch together the lineage for this data set as well. And then the final thing we have that's kind of a major feature is we have this namespace filtering up here. So our seed data here, and this is just using the seed data for Marquez, has these two namespaces, and we just fetch these as soon as you initialize the application. So if we go to default, we'll notice we don't have any jobs for this namespace, but as soon as we switch to food delivery, we can see the list of jobs and data sets for this namespace. So this is kind of an overall level control that you have when you want to look at a namespace in particular at any given time. And then we have a list of minor features here, which are a little bit more niche and client-side specific, which I don't think we need to kind of go over specifically, but so we did quite a bit of work here to make the look and feel of the application and function of the application work a little bit better and more consistently. And more details can be found if you click that link if you're interested in some client-side engineering work and React work and all of the changes that we made. So I think that's kind of the demo of kind of the new Marquez, which is pretty exciting for us. It's been a long time coming, and we've gotten a lot of feedback about the existing implementation, and we hope this new implementation kind of reflects a lot of the changes that people wanted us to have.
Yeah.
So I'll kick it back over to Willy now.
Yeah, I mean, these are some improvements that I've been waiting for. So I mean, the one key thing is just it's just so responsive. You no longer have to. I always had to refresh, right? So there's a lot of things just because of just the current state of the UI and its status. But yeah, it's just a lot more robust now, and we're already starting to see new feature requests come in. So one of them was around filtering data sets by its source, which I think is going to be great. So Yeah, I think now we can kind of build on top of the foundation that you put together, Peter. We definitely want to begin thinking about test suites for the UI, and how we start doing maybe some end-to-end tests as well. But yeah, this is just a great start. So thanks for all your hard work. And with that, I'm going to quickly go over. So what Peter showed was the search experience. So if I go local host 3000 here, because I have Marquez up. So what I'm going to be doing is just going over the search experience here. So what's involved when you type in ETL, or maybe not in depth, but in general, what does the API look like? So in the latest Open API spec for Marquez, so 0.18, you'll see that there's a new search API. So to do a query, so we're not using Elasticsearch or anything complex on the back end. Honestly, what we're doing is just using the like feature for just kind of just doing pattern matching. So just be able to give a text and then return back generally what things match. And for us, that's actually good enough. So if we go to the Marquez code base, and there's now a new, I think, search DAO. Yeah. If I just go quickly, I mean, this is the query powering it. To be honest with you, like what we ended up doing was like the search results themselves. Whether you're searching for a job or data set, those are the two that you can filter by. So the payload is you're going to have a type, name, when it was updated, the namespace that was associated with. So we essentially just do a join on the results that come back for a data set and the results that come back for a job. And if you have any filtering that you provide and sorting, we'll do that. So this is really the query that's powering it. So again, not too complex because we currently don't need anything beyond that. So we wanted to just get something out and shipped. But in the future, when you'd want to do things like ranking, that's going to get a bit more complex and a bit more involved, but we're not quite there yet. So if I go back here, so the one thing you'll have to provide is a query. So again, it's just a text. So whatever you provide, it's going to do a match on that. You could filter by either dataset or job, and then you could sort by the name of the job or dataset or when it was updated. And then again, there's some limits that you can provide in the payload itself. So what you eventually get back, you'll get back a count, sort of how many results are in the search. And then depending on the type, whether it's a dataset or job, you'll get back the related fields. Now, this could be expanded to return back the entire job metadata or the entire metadata for a data set. But initially, just to serve the search feature, we didn't need to go that, we didn't need to be that involved. Because if you look at what we do for the lineage API, we actually return back everything. So if you go data, in here, and depending on the type, so this is actually the entire. So if you were going to make a call to get a data set or job, the lineage API actually returns back all the metadata associated with that node. So technically, we could do the same for search, but just not really a requirement for what we were trying to build. So if I was going to follow this, over here, I just wanted to show you what a call would look like. So I'm just going to copy this. I can never see my screen. How do I get rid of that? Okay, doesn't matter. I'll just pull this down a bit. Okay, so if I was going to do a curl and I just wanted to do search, and like I said, you could just do provide the query, and let me just a little bit bigger. And ETL, that's a pretty good one because there's this will match all the jobs. So and then I'll pipe this out to JQ. So you'll get back okay. So here we got 10 hits, which is to be expected. I think that's how many ETL jobs we have. So you'll get back the type, the name, and here we got a match on ETL. and then when it was updated, the namespace that's associated with, and also you get back a node ID. So this node ID is actually going to be the node ID for the lineage, the lineage graph. So when you make a call to the lineage endpoint, one of the query parameters, oops, I don't know. One of the query parameters is the node ID. So the idea with search is that when you click on that node, it will take you to the lineage graph. So that's a way just to link it together. So the backend builds that node ID for you and returns back the search results. So if we go and we look at just like a few other things, so we could be a bit cooler, and we could add, let's say if we want to filter, let's add a filter for data sets. So we know we shouldn't get any results back for if we filter by a data set. You don't get any back just because there's no no data sets with EKL in it. And then same thing, so like if I do, so there's a lot of public data sets, and like you get 10 back, and same thing, you could just do where just jobs. And there's also sorting and limit, but those are pretty straightforward as well. So I won't provide an example for that, but yeah, you give it a try. The clients, both Java and Python, also support search. So if you were using the clients, you can now use that to run search queries, and also available. And that's really what I wanted to show. Just demo that and give it a try. So with that, I'll stop sharing. Yeah, with that kind of concludes the community meeting. Yeah, again, awesome job, Peter, on the demo and the features that made it into the 0.18 release for the UI. And now we could kind of just leave it open for discussion.